Discuss how she ended up to be that way with me. Something you may not know about iguanas is that they don't play about their mans. They're pack animals. There's typically 5 female iguanas for every 1 male iguana, and they protect that male iguana with their life. It's not a huge problem when they're out in the wild, but when they're in facilities, it ends up with them inadvertently bonding with one keeper typically if they don't have access to other iguanas, and they start to protect that keeper. They try to prevent it from happening by switching their handlers very often, but at this rescue and rehabilitation center that I worked at, mainly for like aquatics and exotics, there was this really big mean iguana, and her name was Mistress, and it turns out that she's a hybrid, but we didn't know that until way after the fact. Anyways, because she was so big, they were trying to breed her with other male iguanas, and she wasn't having any of it. I honestly will make a part 3 because there's a lot of stories. I'll just tell you a couple of them. One of them is the more I worked at this facility, the more I bonded with Mistress because I love mean animals. I've always loved mean animals. But one in particular, I found out the hard way, and I don't know what the easy way is, that Mistress liked to be held like a shotgun. And you carry her around and you could go, and she would pretend to like shoot at people, but I was the only one that would hold her because she was really sharp and really big, and she was missing a bunch of toes and stuff, and so she was just not that nice. But the longer I was there, the meaner she got because she was inadvertently pack bonding with me, and I guess she really liked to be held like a shotgun. But I'm just gonna tell one story because otherwise it's gonna get too long, and if you guys want a part 3, let me know. But so I found out the hard way that she was pack bonded because it was during COVID, and during the time you had to wear a mask in the reptile room, not because of like social issues, but because at that time, so early on, we didn't understand the transmission between like aviary and exotic animals and COVID and all that sort of stuff. So you had to wear a mask, and this guy came up to me and he's like, just talking. I said, "Sir, you can't be in this room because you're not wearing a mask, and it's the reptile room. You can't be in here. You could be somewhere else if you want to be somewhere else." But he was really angry at me, and he started yelling at me, and inadvertently, hold on, I gotta act it out. So for the purpose of our story, Mistress's enclosure is over here and we're over here. So this fella, right, he's like, "You're not going to tell me to put on a mask." Like, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. And so he starts yelling at me, and he's like, getting in my face. Remember, Mistress is over here. There's a wall here, but Mistress is over here. And so he's yelling at me, and he gets in my face, and I'm like, "Whoa, sir." And I take a step back and inadvertently put myself in Mistress's enclosure. So now I'm leaned over here, and there's like a little line between me. And I just watch almost in slow motion as just this sound goes, and something just goes over this man's face, like disgusting, like absolutely horrible. It was like brown and liquid, and I looked over, and Mistress had her cheeks all puffed up, and she's at like eye level with this man, and it turned out she had went down to the bottom of her enclosure and filled her mouth with poopy water and